Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. On this here pod, we like to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, and TV. On today's episode, we'll be recapping the past 3 games that the Giants have played against the Lions, Patriots, and Commanders. And then we'll take a look ahead at the upcoming game against J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, and the Minnesota Vikings at home. So without further ado, let's get started up in here. All right. Wasn't able to record while I was down in South Carolina visiting my family for Thanksgiving. I was able to write a blog post, a very lengthy blog post about another blown loss to the Detroit Lions on November 23rd. I wasn't able to watch the game, but I was able to listen to the game on my drive down to South Carolina. Was able to listen to Bob Papa and Carl Banks on the call for WFAN on Sirius XM. And Carl Banks could not stop talking about how Dexter Lawrence was just not on the field for a lot of very pivotal drives, a lot of pivotal plays. Dexter Lawrence, historically your best player, all pro, not on the field. And when he was not on the field, the Lions took advantage. Jahmyr Gibbs had himself a day. What bothered me most about this game was that the response from Mike Kafka, both in the post-game press conference and then he doubled down on it the day after, Monday or Tuesday, when he has that second press conference with the media. And the phrase that pays for both Mike Kafka and Dexter Lawrence. And Dexter Lawrence used the same exact language, which this means it's a coordinated effort. And my conspiracy brain is going haywire, just firing on all cylinders. Nicked up. So if you didn't read the blog post, I became obsessed with this. Nicked up. What does that mean, nicked up? Where is he nicked up? How is he nicked up? And the fact that he was not on an injury report for the following week makes my brain go even more haywire. It's like, okay, so he's nicked up, missing pivotal plays, pivotal drives. You're trying to conserve him, only using him on pass rushing downs, but yet didn't miss any practice, wasn't on the injury report for the Patriots game. What the fuck, dude? So that bothered me. And it's just the way that the organization has handled things over the past, I don't even know how many, 12, 13, 14 years now, where I guess when you're winning, this kind of stuff doesn't crop up to the surface. But when you are losing, you start to hone in on it and focus in on it more. Why are you all saying that he's nicked up? Why can't you disclose what he had? And if he's not on the injury report and he didn't miss any playing time against the Patriots, then why was he not on the field? You can't say nicked up because he's not missing practice time. He's not missing the Patriots game. Just all around, it's just weird. There's just a lack of trust. There's a lack of trust in the Giants organization to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to strategize, to execute. There's just a lack of trust, lack of faith all around, top to bottom. Dexter Lawrence is nicked up. And the reporters did an okay job of following up on it, but I would have hammered on it and hammered on it and hammered on it. It's like, what are you covering up? What is this cover up that we're doing? So weird. Jameis Winston had himself a day. Nominated for FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week. Darius Alexander had himself the best game of his rookie season. Nominated for Pepsi Rookie of the Week. And, of course, Shane Bowen was fired as defensive coordinator, rightfully so. Probably way too late to save the season, as we were, I believe, either officially eliminated from the postseason after this loss, or it might have been the Packers loss. I believe it was the Lions loss. And then, much to my surprise, and I would imagine a lot of people that have been following the situation have been speculating about who would be named the interim DC once Bowen was canned. Charlie Bullen is named DC. Okay, sure. Like we'd heard about Marco Emmanuel, we'd heard about Andre Patterson. Both of them have some kind of defensive coordinator experience in their coaching history. Charlie Bullen, not so much. And to say that he's been doing a better job, I wouldn't go that far. The defense under Bowen surrendered an average of 31.7 points during the 6-game losing streak. And for a unit that was supposed to be the strength coming into the season, where I foolishly thought that we could be a top 10, if not top 5 unit on that side of the ball, it is officially one of the worst. I got roasted for my boomer takes on Cam Scadaboo and Abdul Carter showing up at the WWE event and getting physically involved. I have no issue with them showing up, chugging a beer, talking trash. But when you start to push, and then it's like the push is okay, but then the wrestlers come back and they're attacking, and like, I don't know. There's just a lot of people in that melee. And it is choreographed. And, if you slow it down, you watch it, you can see how it is choreographed. Like, they want to make sure that, they get that shot of Scadaboo going face to face with JD McDonough or Dom Mysterio. And so that's the focus is there. And then once you see the push and then they come back, you can see them, Abdul and Cam, kind of recede to the background as, all these other, Andrew Schultz, comedian, and all these other people kind of swarm in front of them. So it looks like they're more, Cam and Abdul are more involved in it than they are. Still, shit can go sideways, man. Stuff can go haywire, even in wrestling, with professional wrestlers who are paid, who are professional stunt people who are paid to do that. You think like, oh, they did a run through before the show. Okay. Stuff can still go wrong. So I still stand by it. I know people say I stink. Newsflash, that's not like a new development. People have been saying I stink for my entire life. So, but it did, I did need to take a step back after that. I really did. I was burnt out by the Giants. I really was. It's just like when you have this much losing, and then you see the kind of reaction to those incidents, the overwhelming, there were people who kind of defended me and supported me on my take, but the younger generation, they were just like, yeah, you fucking suck, dude. You're the worst. Boomer take, blah, 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 which I admit, I guess it is a boomer take. And I'm officially an old man. This is the oldest I've ever looked on camera. I know that for sure. I was just like, whoa. Before I was like, yeah, I look old. Now it's like, I look fucking old. So I'm old now. Turned 45, and now I'm officially old. Like old, like retirement. Like I've come out the other end of this midlife crisis, and now it's like I'm ready for my 55 plus condo. So pumped for that. So psyched for that. Yeah, the state of affairs, the state of the union for the Giants is like, I just was getting so heated. I continually talk to myself about like, okay, why are you getting upset? Don't get upset. Like, this team sucks, and its fan base does not care. Like, the fan base doesn't care that it's like, top running back is hurt and risking re-injury, and that it's top draft pick in this past class just refuses to show up on time, just misses walkthroughs in practice and is making excuses. And then, we'll get into him more later, because it's just like the main theme across this 3-game reaction that I'm doing is that, are we truly learning from our mistakes and our errors? What does the learning and development curve look like for this young Giants team? And it's like, not great at all. On top of being burnt out from the dysfunction, I had some kind of weird eye thing going on where like, I've had my fair share of eye problems because I just refuse to take care of my eyes like a normal human should. This one caught me off guard though, where it was like some kind of, and you can still kind of see it on the left eye here on the corner, but there was like a red bump, and it was developing right before I went down for South Carolina. So I want to say the 22nd or 23rd. And then while I was down there, the right eye starts to flare up. And so I would wake up in the morning, and it was like all the fluids in the world collected in this here bag under my right eye. It was just like, wow, I am a melted candle. I am a wax figurine that is just left out in the sun for way too long. So I didn't think I belonged on camera, and I don't think I should be doing this episode. But here we are, pushing forward, pressing on, not giving up, even though I'm not being paid. I show up. I'm holding myself accountable and being responsible. Something that I don't know you can say about a lot of the Giants roster. You know, this team is focused on optics and the narrative, and they're not focused on preparation, the fundamentals, and that's, you know, we have turnover chests and be a pirate slogans and WWE stunts and just trying to force chemistry when it's not there and saying one thing but the belief is somewhere else. I was broken, and I still am broken to a greater degree, to a certain degree. It's just there's no, and this is what I've been trying to like kind of defend myself in the comments, but it's just it's I understand, and I know it's a losing battle, and you're not going to change anyone's mind, but it just feels like it needs to be said that the kind of stuff that's happening right now, yes, if we were winning, it wouldn't be a big deal, but I believe we're not winning because of that shit. Because you're late to practice and to film sessions and walkthroughs. And if you want to use Lawrence Taylor as an excuse and say Lawrence Taylor did it and Parcells allowed him to do it, Belichick would bring it to Parcells' attention and be like, hey, just to let you know, LT was late. And Parcells has the classic quote, well, why'd you start without him? It's Lawrence Taylor, dude. Abdul Carter is not Lawrence Taylor. Not even a little bit. So, I mean, to me, I think it comes back to, the fans. I don't think a lot of the younger fans really give a fuck about the results on the field. I think they care about who looks cool, who looks good, aura, and that's all good. Like, I love Jaxson Dart and Cam Scattaboo, and I was prepared to like Abdul Carter, but the guy put really high expectations on himself by asking for Lawrence Taylor's number and then Phil Simms' number. It's like two of the biggest legends in Giants history asking them to unretire their numbers. You unretired Ray Flaherty's number for Malik Neighbors. And while Malik Neighbors, set records his rookie season, it's because he didn't really have much of an offense outside of him. And now he's missed it just about his entire sophomore season. So he needs to come back and play well. And it's a lost season, but I don't know. Been down this road before. Feels like a broken record. Can't use injuries as an excuse. 49ers are 9-4, man. 9-4. Didn't have their starting quarterback. Didn't have a lot of key pieces on defense. 9-4. And we should be, even after this most recent loss to the Commanders, we should be 5-9, dude. 5-9 without two of your biggest playmakers on offense in Scattaboo and Neighbors. So, and without Thibodeau, who's been absent since week 10. So I'm just curious. Like, the younger generation, is it just like, well, what do you want these guys to do in a losing season? And I'm like, well, do you ever think that we're having the losing season because we're not focused on the priorities? Like, not being serious and prepared about your job? I don't know. Like, millions of dollars. Like, for me to care more about this team than the players who are getting paid millions of dollars, dude. That's why it's like, we'll get to Joe Shane, but like, I just think Joe Shane has to go. I think you just have to sweep it clean. Even Kafka, dude. I know people want him to stay on as like OC. He's obviously not. I don't think he's an okay head coach. Is he better than Dable? Maybe. But I don't know. It's like he's now had 2 back-to-back games where his special teams has completely fucked us in the Patriots game and the Commanders game. So I don't want to see any more soft practices, soft training camps. And I understand the rules are stricter around what you can do in practice and training camp, but I'd like to see a little more focus, dedication, commitment, not as being as loose and soft. I want to demand the best of the players. There's just no incentive to change. Like like the fact that Abdul Carter was benched for a series against the Packers, benched for an entire first quarter against the Patriots, and then when asked about it, says shit happens, and just kept saying shit happens. It's just like, oh my God, dude. But you have to remember that Carter's like the youngest player on the team, 22 years old. So I think about when I was 22, and it's just like I didn't give a fuck. So I get it. But I also wasn't being paid millions of dollars to do my job, dude. That's what's hard for me to accept is like, oh, just let him live, let him live. And I'm like, these dudes have millions of dollars. They can do whatever they want. And all they have to do is show up on time and play football. So that means like use the millions of dollars to get your kicks in every way you want in the safest way without putting your body at risk. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask, but whatever. So, I don't know. I mean, you look at Jim Fossil. Was he too loose with his players? Is that the reason why we had so many collapses? You know, Coughlin came in, was too strict at first. He then adjusted. It formed his like little cabinet, if you will, of captains and veteran players that were identified as leaders in the clubhouse. And that led to championships. And then when you got past the second Super Bowl, it's like you started to see in 2015 the collapse is happening again. So was the message getting lost? Was it no longer effective? Was it a case of the GM, Jerry Reese, not supplying him with the right personnel? I like to think it's more on Reese than it is Coughlin, although I do think there's a fair contingent of players within that roster and clubhouse that probably were not as keen on Coughlin as years past. And so I think most of the onus goes on Reese. You look at McAdoo and Shermer, and it's like offensive-minded guys probably didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the defense and special teams. Was there enough discipline there? Probably not. And then you look at Joe Judge, and it was like we went too far the other way, where it was too rigid, and that became super unpopular. But in hindsight, maybe Joe Judge wasn't totally wrong. You know, he made a stupid decision. He just cracked towards the end of that 2021 season, and I don't know if you can really blame him. I think he put a lot of people in that situation. I think a lot of people would have cracked there, just because it's like he just desperately wanted to say Dave Gettleman stinks. I did not want a lot of these players, and Dave Gettleman shoved them down my throat. David Gettleman did not cooperate with me, but he took the high road he took the high road for the most part, and then I guess he panicked and then tried to ramble and rant his way through it and made him look poorly. So, again, I tend to blame the Reeses and the Gettlemans more than I do the coaches. The coaches are just trying to coach with what they've got, and so I still believe Dable did some really shitty, stupid stuff during his tenure, and Joe Shane did not help him out whatsoever. But Shane Bowen had to go. You know, I cannot believe, looking back, we're going to look back on the season and be like, holy crap, dude. We almost beat the Packers and Lions with Jameis Winston, our backup quarterback, who started the year as our emergency quarterback. That's amazing. So, you know, we've been bottom 3 in most categories defensively year over year with Shane Bowen. So I cannot believe it took him this long to figure that out and to make the move. You know, 2 back-to-back late game blown losses, blown leads, and Kafka makes the move. But it's like, all right, we're eliminated from contention, so whatever. 5th blown 10 or more point fourth quarter lead, worse than the NFL. And I want to say there was a graphic that they put up during this Commanders game where there have only been 8 other teams to have as many blown fourth quarter leads of that amount. So 5 10-plus point fourth quarter leads blown, and that is only 8 others have managed to do that in NFL history. Whoa. And what's wild is Kafka. This is why I don't like listen to a lot of the post game press conferences in full because it just feels like it's just a show. It's just a scripted show where Pat Hamlin or whoever has pulled him aside and be like, "Don't mention this, or this." Mike Kafka, after that blown lead in the loss to the late game collapse against the Lions, he said he had full confidence in Shane Bowen before firing him, which I said is peak coach speak. The offensive, I mean, in terms of Bullen, the outside linebacker group has been the most productive unit, but that's mostly because of Brian Burns. So I guess we're attributing Brian Burns' success to Charlie Bullen. And he hasn't, I mean, he didn't do much against the Patriots. You know, I guess you could say in the second half we really shut them down, but I think that's more of Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniel and Drake May taking their foot off the pedal, off the gas. In terms of the line, putting a bow in the Lions game, Javon Holland got that huge interception for once. I think everyone finally, collectively said, finally. And then he committed that killer penalty on the Lions' last drive, which allowed the Lions to get within range for Bates, who, of course, hits his career high field goal, sends us in the overtime. Offense was actually fun. The Jameis Winston experience continues to be wildly entertaining. Like it's just interesting to think about. Like if we just didn't sign Russell Wilson and just went into the season with Jameis Winston, Jaxson Dart, and Tommy DeVito. If we just did that, where would we be instead of having to deal with Rusty Wilson? Oh shit. Can I say that? I just did. He's got a lot of rust. Old Russell. But even with Jameis, even with Jaxson Dart, the red zone woes are just, I cannot believe our red zone struggles are this bad. We just are really bad in the red zone. The creativity is not there. And, I swear to God, it's like once our offense crosses that 20-yard line, it's like we become a completely different unit. And not just the players on the field, but the coordinators, the coaching staff. It's just like we just forget what got us into that zone. It's like it's like a memory wipe or something. It's insane. It's this weird force field barrier that once you cross it, you become a different person, a different group. Wan'Dale Robinson had a career game. I think we can all agree he's tough as nails, but I just boy, good player, but you now have, with the contract that you've given Darius Slayton, you're now expecting, I believe Wan'Dale should come back. His agent is probably going to come back to him and be like, you just signed Darius Slayton to this, and my boy Wan'Dale outperformed him in every possible category. So you're not going to give him the deal? It's like, and that's where, the multitude of reasons for moving on from Joe Shane, but the Wan'Dale Robinson situation is going to be a clusterfuck, and the Darius Slayton contract is going to come back to bite him. And so that's why I think having a new GM just come in and be like, all right, well, I have no emotional connections or ties to either of your players. I'm going to analyze you objectively. Obviously, Slayton, we overpaid for you, so we're going to look to deal you for whatever. And Wan'Dale, good luck on the free agent market. And then we're just going to try and find something in the draft. He had something like 100 and some odd yards in the first quarter, which was great. And then fairly quiet for the rest of the game. Isaiah Hodgins had some more clutch plays again. Theo Johnson, I love how we're using him vertically as a threat down the field. Tyrone Tracy, good to see him getting involved in the passing game. That's something that we've been calling for forever. The screen game looked like it was back and alive, at least in that Detroit game. I really love the amount of trick plays that Mike Kafka was throwing at the Lions. He really brought his Ben Johnson game. He was like, very fitting that Ben Johnson was known for running trick plays while in Detroit. And then Kafka's like, in an ode tribute to Ben Johnson, I'm going to do my own trick plays, which I don't think that Bob Papa and Carl Banks really did the trick plays justice on the call, on the radio call. And I ended up watching the highlights once I was able to get into South Carolina. I was like, damn, Jameis, like elusive, Gunnar Olszewski with the hell of a throw, and then Jameis like making a move on that defender, the linebacker shedding the tackle and getting in the end zone. It was just fun to watch. Offense has up until the Patriots game, the past two games, Patriots and Commanders, they were showing fight. They were showing they were resilience, able to adapt, and this has been like an enjoyable Giants offense to watch up until the past 2 weeks. For the season, I would say going back to, 2022 wasn't exactly a fun offense to watch. I would put this offense as more fun than the 2022 offense. And then before that, maybe the 2018 offense that had a lot of, 2018, 2019, maybe I would put this year's offense above that. You have to go back to like 2014, 2015. The first 2 years with OBJ were pretty fun. But again, it's not like we haven't had a truly dominant offense since 2008. From top, like, I'm talking about in totality. Like 2011 was mostly driven by Eli Manning and Victor Cruz. To a certain extent, maybe Hakeem Nicks. So I would say, like our run offense sucked in 2011. 2008, our run offense was amazing, and we didn't really need to pass. Whew. The second half of that 2002 season under Jim Fossil, or had Kerry Collins, Tiki Barber, Monty Toomer, Jeremy Shockey, that was a pretty fun offense in totality. So the offense has been fun. I didn't know what to think going into that Patriots game because they had just lost their starting left tackle. I think Will Campbell's his name, from LSU. Rookie, playing out of his mind, was willing to die for his quarterback. And I was like, all right, well, this, pass rush has been criticized for not getting after the quarterback and not sealing the deal. We're getting pressures, but not sacks. So maybe this is the game where we stand out. And no. It's like, can Charlie Bullen unleash the pass rush? And it's nope. Instead, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau out. Abdul Carter benched. We just couldn't get any kind of pressure. And if we did get pressure, Drake May was able to evade and make plays, scrambling and down the field. We end up getting blown out 33-15. There was one point where we came within 15 points. I think it was after that long Darius Slayton catch and run. But it was just uncompetitive. 7th consecutive loss. We fell behind 17-0 to start the game. So I ended up, I've been unemployed for 17 months now, which is a record. That's a personal record. Thank you. And so, I was starting to get really conservative with my budget for entertainment. I just got to start making some cuts here and there. And so I'd cut Hulu Plus Live TV. I cut YouTube TV after that. And so I had to do the day pass from Sling to get the ESPN Monday night game from the Patriots and Giants. I was coming back from gymnastics with my daughter. So that ran until about 8, and then I had to put her down. So I was trying to catch up on Sling with the day pass. But I kept on looking at my phone, and my phone kept on showing the updated score, and I was just like, oh, do I need to watch this? We're already down 17-0. What the fuck? So we get down 17-0. Giants on the board early in the second quarter with that 30-yard catch and run from Darius Slayton. It was his first touchdown since December 29th, 2024. Dude, when it's been almost a full calendar year since your last touchdown, I think we need to rethink some things with Darius Slayton, which is tough because we just gave him a 3-year contract. I think someone came at me on YouTube in a comment calling me all kinds of names for my clip I put out about how we need to move on from Darius Slayton, or at least Darius Slayton needs to step up and be more accountable for his performance. He's a captain now, big contract, still dropping balls left and right. So, I think it's starting to wear on him. When you start to get that big contract. Before it's like, all right, well, I'm performing well, and I'm the default top receiver for us before Neighbors arrived, and then Neighbors goes down. You're supposed to be the wide receiver one, and I mean, is he? No, he's not. At least by the numbers, he's not. At least by targets, he's not. So someone really went in on me, and I took it on the chin because it's like, there's nothing. I mean, I was a staunch defender. I defended him for maybe too long. And, maybe the critics are right because when it comes down to it, to the nitty gritty, my man does not show up and does not show out. When we need a big play, and this happened in the Patriots game and it happened in the Commanders game where it's like, and it happens way too much and way too often for me to have any kind of trust, in him. I don't think it's the matter of a coaching staff unlocking him. I really don't think it is. The guy has now been with Shermer, Judge, Garrett, Kafka, Dable. It's just he's been with a slew of coaches, and I don't know that it's the right coach to unlock him. I just don't think that's the case. I really do think this is it. He's a guy that can go off and have a great game and look like a wide receiver one, but those are rare, few and far between. He's not giving you that week in, week out consistent basis, or more times than not, I should say. I mean, Justin Jefferson's going through it right now with J.J. McCarthy, where he's getting shit ton of targets and he's just not connecting. And it's a lot of that's poor throws. It's not, he's not dropping a ton of balls like Slayton does. Slayton does drop balls, so, or just not hold on to the ball. How many touchdowns has he dropped? How many touchdowns have, it's just, so I don't know what you do with that contract. And I don't know that when Neighbors comes back that he's going to magically start to be this other person. I guess the closest comparison, and this is not even a good comparison, is Amani Toomer. Like Amani Toomer, drafted in 96, primarily a punt returner, didn't really have his breakout season until, I want to say, 1999, which was his fourth season. And then 2000, great season. 2002, good season. And played all the way till 2008, I want to say. So, and for Amani, from what I understand, is like it really was in his third or before that 99 season, maybe. It was just he really upped his workout game, I think, as did Tiki. Him and Tiki really just like went all out on working out and preparing, and so they didn't get tired in the fourth quarter, and that's where they excelled. I believe that's it, if I remember correctly, but I don't know what you do with Slayton to correct it. I really don't. Other than, my caveman brain kicks in. I'm just like, if I'm a coach or a teacher, it's like I'm just going to hammer it home, hammer it home, hammer it home. Before practice, we're going to set up the jugs, and we're going to fire them at you. Fire, 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 fire. And then after practice, stay after practice, we're going to have the jug machine, and we're just going to fire it at you. Just work on it. Like, is he working on it? You don't necessarily hear about it. Slayton was the victim for a bunch of years where it's like, yeah, he had the drops, but it's like, is the quarterback just not throwing the ball? What's the deal? We're not designing plays to him. We're not going deep. We're not connecting on deep balls because we don't have a guy that can throw a deep ball accurately, which was not completely true. So listen, I was pulling for Slayton for a long time, but you keep making the same mistakes, same errors, and you're still not reaching your potential, quote unquote. There's a point where you have to start to look to sell. And it's like, I'm not rooting against the guy by any means. I would still love him to get to that level where we all saw him getting to, where we saw this underdog 5th round draft pick. It was like, wow, like how often do you get a 5th round wide receiver that can put up these kind of numbers, that has the speed? And it's like, well, now you understand why he's a 5th rounder. Cause like he's not making the big play. We need the big play. And he's been presented with big play after big play. And more times than not, he does not come through. So if I'm the new GM, you got to find a taker, I think. Or you got to restructure the contract. But you have to show the roster and the players, like, I think Slayton's contract is a result of not the previous season, maybe the previous offseason. It was the Barkley McKinney offseason. It's just Shane trying to correct his past mistakes with not retaining young talent. So he overpaid for Darius Slayton. And if we retain him for this offseason, there's a high chance that he's going to overpay Wan'Dale Robinson. And it's like, listen, Wan'Dale puts up numbers. He puts up bigger, better numbers than friggin' Slayton. So you're going to pay him more than Slayton? Honestly, I think I don't know. I mean, it's just so weird. The Slayton, I mean, I've talked about it for so many years now, where it's like we really fucked him over. And then because we fucked him over so much with threatening to cut him and then asking him to take a pay cut, and then, it's like, and then we reward him with a bigger contract than we should have. It's like that big contract was only because of what we did to him before. Ooh, that's why I just think you just move on from Shane. And I don't know. Keep saying clean house, sweep it clean, but we're not doing that. So that's my Darius Slayton rant. Giants converted only 4 third downs and 11 attempts against the Pats while recording 239 yards, their second lowest total this season, second to our week 1 output against the Commanders, 231 with Russell Wilson. They're also unsuccessful in all 3 of their tries on 4th down. So while even after this Commanders game, we're about like average, middle of the road when it comes to third down percentage on offense and defense, surprisingly. 4th down red zone is just bad, real bad. Basement dwellers. The Giants' streak of scoring 20 or more points ended at 7 games. With this 33-15 loss against New England, that's tied for the team's second longest streak in a single season since 2000, which came in that 2008 season when we had that high-powered offense that was fueled by earth, wind, and fire. Whew. So the offense clicking despite missing key parts, and I think that's why people have not lost all hope for 2026. And despite what the fan feedback has been for this season, it's like the future is still somewhat bright, and that's because of the offense. Now, from a fan standpoint, it feels fairly straightforward. Can Shane bring in a GM that can then work, who has a good rapport with the new coach, and they can get together and determine how can we fix the defense, how can we fix the special teams, and how can we tweak the offense to keep improving. Cannot take a step back after this season. You're seeing the kind of development that you want out of the offense, specifically from the offensive line. You know how to improve the offensive line. Move on from Van Roten. That feels foregone conclusion. Upgrade over JMS. Re-sign Illuminor, which they're dragging their feet on. And we'll get to the bye week press conference with Shane, but it just feels like it doesn't seem like a priority for him. And that feels like, okay, the litany of friggin' reasons why Joe Shane should not be general manager anymore, not re-signing and extending Jermaine Illuminor, it feels like that's at the top of the list, an ever-growing list. But the fact that our offense is putting up the points that we have seen on a consistent basis from the 2008 season when we were the number 1 seed in the NFC and had home field advantage, it's like, okay, good things are happening on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, the past 2 games against the Pats and Commanders weren't great. And I don't know if that's Jaxson. It's on Jaxson Dart. Kind of feels like it's on Jaxson Dart. Hate to say it, but kind of feels like it's on him. But defense and special teams. Dart completed just over 70% of his passes for 139 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions for a passer rating of 99.1, the 3rd highest mark of his 8 starts. That being said, that game against the Patriots, he added 20 yards on the ground on just 4 carries, the lowest number of rushing attempts in his 8 starts. And I mean, that's on purpose. That's intentional because Dable was criticized thoroughly for creating so many designed run opportunities for Jaxson Dart that it was putting him in harm's way, knowing that the Dart is super aggressive and is taking on hits, unnecessary hits. Don't design as many runs for him. And I think that you could see they were not, that was not the game plan against the Patriots. Like, we're going to really try and restrict the amount of opportunities we give him to run on purpose. This was his first start since all the way back in week 5 in which he did not account for multiple touchdowns. But even when you're not designing runs for him, this is what I talk about, the learning curve, learning and development. He took so many monster shots in this Monday night game. And it's just like, dude, are you stupid? Are you dumb? And of course, I think Hard Knocks, episode 1 of Hard Knocks was also released during this time. And they show the clip of him and Theo Johnson and I forget who, another coach. I think it was the new offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly, maybe, former tight end coach, talking about geography and locations and directions and them not knowing where the Atlantic Ocean is or something. It's just like the fact that you continue to put yourself in harm's way and don't know, he's from Utah, dude. Went to school like USC, Southern California. He's not an East Coast guy. So I'm not going to put a lot of importance on that clip and like his intelligence level, because it's when it comes down to it, it's like football intelligence. You don't need to know the capital of every state, just or where the ocean is. I just need you to know where the receiver is gonna be. Okay, so I don't give a fuck about that, but you do start to wonder. It's like, my God, dude, what are you thinking on that scramble to the right where Ellis just levels him, dude? And then Theo Johnson gets the personal foul penalty, 15 yards, and it's like we were going to be 4th and short. Now it's, we're out of range to go for it. He just, and even after that hit was early in the first quarter, maybe second quarter, and he just, even after that, just continuing to not get down, not protect himself. It's like the polar opposite of Eli Manning later in his career, where it's like if there was any kind of threat to him, any kind of pressure whatsoever, he would immediately crumble to the ground. But self-preservation. Live to learn and live to play another day, another play. Eli was the king of that, and you saw that reflected in his streak of career starts. Although, I mean, he revealed how like he went on Part of My Take, and his streak was threatened in 2007, if you remember, going into that Packers home game, which I went to, where we got blown out. He had like a really bad shoulder problem where he almost missed that game, but played through it. I don't know that. I forget who the backup was that year. It might have been Jared Lewinson. But yeah, just it just deflating watching Dart in that game. It was just like taking too many hits, having so much pressure, not throwing the ball away, not taking easy completions. That's been the knock. So the knock against Dart has been not sliding, taking too many unnecessary hits. But in parallel with that, or in tandem with that, is the fact that he's not taking the completion that's there, and he's looking to get chunk yardage, which live by the sword, die by the sword, right? We've been saying that about the rookies. But with Dart, it would be nice to just do a little, it's all right to check down once in a while, take the easy completion. Listen, I love that he takes shots and takes risks down the field, throwing the ball, and is looking for that big chunk gain. But sometimes you can just see, like, if you just nibble away here and there, you start to wear down the defense, and then that big shot opens up. But yeah, it was tough watching that game. No, especially knowing that I kept checking my phone like an idiot and seeing that the score just kept going up and up and up and up. It's like, oh, they have 30 points now. How the fuck did that happen? Can't wait to see how that happens. So that's the offense against the Pats defense. Giants defense versus the Pats offense. Drake May joined Hall of Famer Dan Marino As the only quarterbacks with an 80-plus passer rating and a win in 9 consecutive games prior to age 24, they are now tied with 10. Marino did it in his 1984 MVP season. Said that weird. Patriots scored on 5 of their first 6 possessions in the first half. The 30 points were the most allowed by the Giants in a first half since January 3rd, 2010 at Minnesota. I think that was the game that OBJ missed. No, OBJ wasn't on the team. Dumbass. That was the end of that 2009 season. Ugh, that sucked. Rookie Abdul Carter did not start for the second time in 3 games due to coach's decision. Entered the game in the second quarter and registered his first full sack of the career on 3rd and short, forcing the Patriots to punt. Even his first full sack of his career, I don't know that you're going to be seeing that in a lot of highlight reels for Abdul Carter. It was just like, it's not like he won his pass rush. It was, coverage stood up. May tried to scramble, and he tackled him short of the line of scrimmage. I don't know that you're like, I don't know. So what's up with Abdul Carter? We kind of touched on it a little bit early on in the ep. The Athletic, this is from the Athletics newsletter. I think it's Scoop City, their NFL newsletter. But they attempted to answer it. Few players have ever gotten that sort of latitude from their coaches. At the moment, Giants rookie Abdul Carter sure isn't. Number 3 pick in April, began his career with lofty comparisons. Draft experts suggested he might be the next Micah Parsons. Spoiler alert, not looking like that. Also, the Packers losing Micah Parsons to that torn, it looks like a torn ACL or something in his knee. That sucks. Whew. While Carter made headlines by wanting to wear Taylor's retired number 56, still the confident edge rusher planned to live up to the legacy of number 56, just as he had wearing Parsons' honored number 11 at Penn State. Through 13 weeks this season, tardiness has been the only thread tying Carter to Taylor, a trend that Coach Brian Daboll seems to have let slide before his firing, per my colleague Dan Duggan. Taylor used to miss time for other reasons on Sunday night. One Sunday night, he drove home from playing golf, saw the stadium lights on, and realized he was missing his team's game. I thought it was a Monday night game, Taylor told James Brown. I told Parcells, don't blame me, blame the foursome in front of me. They were so slow. Again, I would love to know what game that was. That feels like that was the strike season in 87. Again, coaches were willing to put up with Taylor, who at Carter's age, 22, had 9.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and won Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. Carter currently has more benchings than sacks. That's a crazy stat. So, yeah. Man, I was kind of murky on Carter when we picked him. Once I found out he was a Philadelphia Eagles fan growing up, I'm like, this is not going to end well. This is not going to go well for us. I can't imagine being like, that's like me getting drafted to be the Eagles quarterback. It's just like, ugh. There's subconsciously, there's something sticking that's hard to shake. And maybe that's why Abdul Carter's not, like, if he was drafted by the Eagles, is he pulling this shit? I don't know. That's why I think it's an inside job. Conspiracy Brain is on high alert. We're in DEFCON 1 with Abdul Carter sabotaging the Giants from the inside. So, not a great look for Abdul. And we then had the bye week, and so he had to hear about it for 2 weeks coming into this Commanders game. And you want to talk about learning a lesson? Did Jaxson Dart learn his lesson coming into the Commanders game? Sort of. Not really. He still took a few hits, still went to the medical tent. Oh, my God. Abdul Carter showed up early. And he, it's just weird that it took until week 14 or week 15 after the week 14 bye. It took him 14 to 15 weeks for Abdul Carter to put in effort. Like, that's fucking weird, man. When you're the number 3 pick overall and you want Lawrence Taylor's number and you want Phil Simms' number and you are comparing yourself to Micah Parsons and Lawrence Taylor, and it took you 14 to 15 weeks to take this seriously and actually to show up on time and to prepare yourself for a game. So, again, he's 22. You hope that he's learned his lesson, and if the Commanders game is any, if that's what we can expect moving forward, fuck yeah. But we've kind of had a similar situation happen with Kayvon Thibodeau. where it's like, when is Kayvon going to show up and be this guy week in and week out? And then he'd have his monster game against the Commanders and then disappear for the rest of the season. And like monster game against the Commanders and then disappear. It's like kind of similar situation almost like with Daniel Jones, where it's like, oh, he shows up against the Commanders, doesn't show up in other games. So if Abdul can finish out the season playing like he did against the Commanders this past week, then you start to feel really good about, you know, him moving forward and what the defense can achieve if you put some pieces around him, because he can't do it all, as Brian Burns can attest to. Special teams was an absolute atrocity against the Pats. Terrell Jennings returned the opening kickoff 39 yards to the Patriots 47, leading to a field goal. Marcus Jones returned a punt 94 yards the other way for a touchdown. Patriots are now tied with the Seahawks for the most miscellaneous touchdowns scored with 5. They have 2 punt return touchdowns, interception return touchdown, kickoff return touchdown, and a fumble return touchdown. Jones returned his next punt 17 yards. So special teams matters. I know Joe Judge was a little too obsessed with special teams as a head coach, but you can see how they can win and lose games. You know, if Pats don't return that punt for a touchdown, if Younghoe Koo hits the field goal, that's a 10-point swing. And so it's not 33-15, it's 25-23 Giants. You know, prob's not, but it can swing a game. Just like it swung the Commanders game. We had a chance to string together 10 unanswered points and cut the deficit to 1 possession midway through the second quarter. It's when Younghoe Koo lined up for a 47-yard field goal attempt, but his kicking foot jammed in the turf on the follow-through before touching the ball. Never have I ever seen a kicker do that. And then for him to blame it on the hold or the snap not going as smoothly as he would have wanted, I mean, dude, you drove your foot into the ground. Like, I know in real time it probably looks, it definitely looks a lot different, but in slow motion, you look at the snap, it's like, all right, Gillen, not clean, but he gets the ball down, he gets the tilt, he gets the laces out. Everything was there for you to kick the ball. So I don't know that Younghoe Koo in a Giants uniform has earned the right to make excuses, but this is the kind of roster we have. Graham Gano making excuses. Well, I made those kicks in warm-ups. Well, you didn't make them in the game, dipshit. And then Younghoe Koo saying like, oh, the snap wasn't clean, and you know, and the hold wasn't clean. It's like, dude, the ball was down and ready for you to kick the ball. Like, and the fact that you're like, he hit his foot like a full foot or more from the ball indicates that that's on Koo. That's on Koo. He has been awful. Even when he makes kicks, it doesn't look good. There are a few kicks he makes where I'm like, yeah, that looked like perfect. And, you know, granted, he's not kicking in great weather. He's coming from a dome team with the Falcons. But he has looked absolutely, you know, like trash. And if we weren't eliminated from playoff contention, we were actually trying to win games, he would not be our kicker. But it's just like, they're like, who gives a fuck at this point? You know. So wild that Koo would ever blame anyone other than himself for that. And then the Pats jumped out to the 24-7 lead, and Gunnar Olszewski gets blasted to the point where he has paint and decals and stickers flying off his helmet. So he was evaluated for concussion and ruled out. And it's like, this is why I think they should allow. Do they not have replays on the sideline or in the stadium? Like, I understand if it's an away game, they don't show the replay on the Jumbotron or something, but like the coaches, how are they not seeing that Olszewski is going into the concussion pose? You know, there is a pose that you go into when you have a concussion, and it's like he immediately went into that. Why would you ever think that he's questionable? He's out, dude. And so, you know, he fumbles that, and the Pats kick a field goal. So I guess you could say good on the defense for at least holding the Patriots to as many field goals as they did, given the amount of opportunities that the Patriots had. And the Patriots were, for the most part, I think they were pretty much shut out in the second half. So I guess that's something to hang your hat on. They only had 3 points in the second half. Oh, fuck me, dude. And then we had the bye week and we had the Joe Shane press conference that you would think would have solidified his fate and everyone would be pretty much on board with just moving on from him at that point. Like, I don't know what else. What are you going to see in these next 4 games? Well, now 3 games. What are you like? And I spend I'm up at night thinking about this shit. Again, not paid. This is all voluntarily living inside my head, rent free. What are the Giants' front office and ownership thinking about when not moving on from Joe Shane? And my only plausible thought is that it's because John Mara is battling cancer. I think if he weren't battling cancer and fighting through that and was fully healthy, he'd probably be like, yeah, let's can him and let me get involved. And, we're going to put our nose to the grindstone. We're going to find a GM and a coach. But I think it's because he is in this state that he's like, I'm going to lean on Joe Shane and milk him for everything that he's worth. And then once the season's over, get together with him, collect all the info that he's supposedly working on during this stretch where we're not in contention for the playoffs, get his thoughts for the upcoming season, see if he truly does own up to his mistakes, because he didn't own up to his mistakes in the press conference, even though everything he was saying pretty much implied that it's his fault. And then we'll move on from him. But it's like, you can't, like, you're going to use the last 4 games after this bye as like a litmus test. You're not going to look at the past fucking 4 seasons of evidence against him. Like, what? Okay. Giants are 5-25 since the start of the 2024 season, and 20-43-1 since Joe Shane took over in 2022. He kept saying it starts with me, and it's not good enough. But ownership hasn't decided his fate yet. I mean, I don't understand how this is even a question at this point. But it seems like he knows his job isn't safe. They're going to reevaluate everything. I don't know that, like, Joe Shane, a lot of people are saying, oh, Joe Shane didn't sound too confident. His voice is wavering. He's on the defensive. Hasn't that been the case for a while now? When's the last press conference you listened to where it seemed like he had it all together? He knew everything and had an answer for everything. Like, it's just, he's trying to save his job, and this press conference do I think he saved his job with this press conference? No, dude. I can't believe, like, and you want to see people, I mean, I don't know, I've been saying that for a long time now, but I mean, the Commanders game and the Raiders game is away, but you have the Vikings game is the next one, that's at home, and then you have the Cowboys game at home. That stadium against the Commanders was pretty much empty. I mean, it was really empty, really empty, like really empty. And I think it's only going to get worse against, especially the Cowboys. I don't think you're going to see any Giants fans at that game against the Cowboys. Vikings game, I don't know that people are going to show up. Commanders game felt like that's probably the most winnable, with the Vikings being a close second. And if the Cowboys are still fighting for a playoff spot, which after losing to the Vikings last night on Sunday Night Football, I don't know that they're really have much of a shot. They have to basically win out and get a lot of help, I think. So the game might not be worth a damn for the Cowboys either, and they might just sit back and be like, all right, let's just see what the future holds. But tying your future to Jaxson Dart, essentially saying, well, we got the quarterback. Cheap contract, upside. Judge me after the quarterback window plays out. No, dude. Why? So you got a player, right? I know. It's the most important player on the field, but it took you a long time to get to this place. You didn't have confidence in DJ. Then DJ shows up and balls out, quote unquote, in 2022. You then give him a monster extension instead of franchise tagging him. let Saquon, we're not going to go down that road again, but it's like, okay, you're getting good quarterback play, but it's one of the most important, if not the most important aspects. But there are all these other boxes that check, dude, and they're not checked. It's like offensive line has gotten better. Great. That's in your trophy case, I guess, so to speak. But you now let the defense fall to shit. The special teams is an absolute dumpster fire. Brian Dable was fired by ownership. He admitted that, but Joe Shane owns the fallout. He praised Dable, avoided blame, made it clear the decision wasn't purely his. Don't pin that entire mess on me. Okay, well, whew. Quick to bail on his buddy Dable there. Mike Kafka is getting a real audition. Kafka isn't guaranteed anything, but he's not a placeholder either. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is Kafka being more accountable than Brian Dable? Absolutely. You look at what he's done, how he's handled the Abdul Carter situation. I like that about Kafka. I still think, you can't trust a word that he says in any of these press conferences or media outings. So, I don't think he's the answer. It's like the offense the past 2 weeks has actually regressed to a certain, like Jaxson Dart has kind of regressed in the 2 starts under Kafka. Like Jameis Winston was playing better than Jaxson Dart against the Lions and Packers. 2 better teams. Well, Patriots are the number 1 seed, or no, number 2 seed in the AFC now after Denver won and New England lost. But against the Commanders team that just hasn't won a game in forever, they were in a losing streak that was comparable to ours. And they repeatedly tried to hand us the game by fumbling, and we couldn't take advantage. So defense is the biggest indictment of Joe Schoen's tenure. He flat out admitted that they were 30th last year, 30th again after spending money in draft picks. That's scouting, coaching, and alignment failure. Hell yeah, dude. Paulson Adebo is back after missing time, and I don't know that he's really done much of anything. Same with Javon Holland. They're just not doing anything. The secondary still sucks. The secondary was worse without Adebo. It's not a hell of a lot better with Adebo. Javon Holland has basically been there the entire missed a game or 2. He's not doing much of anything that's better than what Dane Belton's given you. And they're getting, again, do we have to repeat it? Holland got the contract Xavier McKinney should have gotten. Paulson Adebo got the contract that Name a Corner should have got. Darius Slayton gets the contract that Saquon Barkley should have got. It's just like you're picking the wrong players to reward and give money to. And it's reflected in the record and the results. The fact that he's still selling process over results is out of control. I'm better today than 4 years ago, he said. Okay. I mean, he did a better job. He did a better job in 2022 than he has the past 4 seasons, where he was just like, when he was dealt a shit salary cap, supposedly, and was just signing guys off the street, and those guys were outperforming the guys that he's rewarded with monster contracts. Like, no, you're not better than you were 4 years ago. He avoided specifics on mistakes for a reason. He would not elaborate on draft busts, free agent regrets, coordinators. Franchise is at a crossroads, and he believes that if he nails the next head coach and Dart keeps progressing, he'll survive. So my guess is you give him. It's a dicey situation. If it's up to me, I'm John Mara. I'm like, nah, dude, we've seen enough. Thanks, but no thanks. Thanks for updating our systems and using computers and analytics. Thanks for ushering us into the 21st century, a full 20 years into the 21st century. Thank you for your service, but we need to move on, because I don't know. I mean, he's saying that it's just a matter of the right head coach. and not the players and personnel. But then you bring in a coach that he's personally vouching for and endorsing, and then that coach doesn't produce any kind of results or anything encouraging. It's like, what would need to happen for him to keep his job, Joe Shane? So say they don't move on from him, which a colossal mistake in my eyes. We don't move on from him. He kind of is instrumental in handpicking the head coach. Head coach comes in similar to results to what we're seeing, where we're getting maybe 2 to 6 wins in that first season with the new head coach. You still have a bottom of the barrel defense. Your offense is about the same, maybe a little bit better. Like, the results are still the same. Then you move on from him. But then you have a head coach that you're not unsure about. Then you have to, I don't know. To me, it's like, get rid of Shane, bring in a GM that can handpick the head coach that he likes the best, that works, that he knows he can collaborate with. Like, Gettleman and Judge, odd pairing. Like, I don't think they ever really collaborated or got along to the point where it felt like we're operating as one. That was the whole appeal of Dable and Shane, and you saw when things turned sour, Shane not threw Dable under the bus, but like held on to him like a life preserver and used him as a scapegoat, and then whatever. So I just don't think Shane's the dude. So we talked about, that press conference was just tough to watch. 22 minutes of just pure torture, just watching this dude try and defend himself. And like a lot of, I understand the question, which means he knows what the media member of the press is asking for. And it's like, I'm not going to give you the answer that you want. I wish I could do that work, in my performance review when that's an announcement that'll come later. Spoiler. But like, I understand the question. And then just dance around it. I'd be fired. But here we are. Obviously, that's probably not how he's talking with ownership, but apparently he has a great relationship with ownership. It's like, all right, what are those conversations were like? What are they like? But to me, it's like, I don't know. The track record is there. All the numbers point to we are a worse franchise with him than we were before him. We just are. Gettleman was bad. Shane is just as bad from a results standpoint. Maybe better because he made the playoff and won a game, but largely with a Gettleman roster. So I was going to say I'll be pissed if we don't move on from him, but it's just, this is where we are as a fan base. We're just like, we're forced to accept this nonsense. We're just forced to accept bullshit. Forced to accept not even mediocrity, dude. Just like bad, horrible operations. We're just forced to accept it. And then, the players wonder why the stands are empty. It's like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? You keep selling us the same bullshit. It's like, eventually we're going to catch on and be like, nah, you guys stink. On Jaxson Dart not making the same mistakes in the learning and development curve, he needs to get the ball out on time and on schedule more often than not. His average time to throw is tied with Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts for the 5th longest in the NFL out of 42 quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts. Only Caleb Williams, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, and J.J. McCarthy hold the ball longer. Tyrod Taylor's a master of just being able to hang out and hang around in the pocket and find that guy open down the field. So he's kind of the exception to the rule. But you look at the other guys in that grouping, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, and J.J. McCarthy, all very young quarterbacks who maybe have not mastered how to read a defense. Caleb Williams having success this season from a record standpoint. He also had a great deal. He put up some good numbers last season, but Ben Johnson, you'd think, is very instrumental in him being able to play at a more efficient, productive level and win games. Of course, the defense is slightly better. Their offensive line specifically is heads and tails above where it was in the previous season with all the new additions they made along that offensive line. So it's a combination of Ben Johnson and offensive line helping for Kalen Williams to play better and more efficiently, more productive, and not hurt the team as much. He still does some things that hurts the team. Justin Fields essentially lost his he lost the starting job in Pittsburgh. He lost the starting job with the Jets. I don't really see a future with him as a starter anywhere. JJ McCarthy, I mean, you can ask Vikings fans. I think, what has he shown you? You know, he does pick up the win against the Cowboys. He did pick up the win against Washington. So looking much better in the past couple weeks, but is still unable to connect with his top target in Justin Jefferson. So, and Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts has come under fire a lot for his inability to connect with his receivers. AJ Brown throwing him some shade. I have Devontae Smith on my fantasy team. He's been unable to do anything with Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. And then Lamar Jackson, tough to say, different breed, MVP style candidate. So that's the one name in that group that makes me think, okay, it's not so bad that Dart is not getting the ball out on time and on schedule. Again, Dart's, it'd be one thing if he's not great off schedule, off platform, which he is. He's one of the best in the game. But it would be nice to just kind of get in the flow on time and on schedule. And my guess is that'll be something they'll work on in the offseason, and then we'll see improvements or steps in the right direction in his sophomore effort, depending on who the coach is and the GM. And oh my God, so many question marks. But that is, it's not all lollipops and rainbows and unicorns with Jaxson Dart. I still love the way he plays. I love the way he is able to improvise, and he gives us an added dynamic. But especially over these past two games, you're seeing a lot of his shortcomings and flaws. Once Abdul Carter came around, after the shit happens commentary, he must have had a talking to from someone, and he said, quote, "I'm learning a lot in terms of just being a man, being in the NFL, just going through it. I'm learning a lot, and I'm glad I'm going through it so I can be better prepared in the future." In that game against the Patriots, Carter produced 6 total pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. This was his second highest pressure total of the season, and gave him 9 pressures across the last 2 games. Over the last 3 weeks, the rookie outside linebacker had produced 5 quarterback hits. This came after a 6-week stretch in which he was held without a single quarterback hit. While the sack numbers may not have been there, the rookie is still finding a way to get after the quarterback and make an impact in the pass rush. Carter ranks ninth amongst all edge rushers and pass rush win rate at 18%, according to ESPN Analytics. Quote, "I would say just what I do on the field after I've been through all this adversity, all the controversy. How do I respond? Do I shy away from it, or do I accept the challenge and become better and improve, keep improving and be the man I'm supposed to be?" And he surely did that in the game against the Commanders. Commanders came into this game against the Giants having lost 8 consecutive games, the NFL's longest active losing streak. The Giants were next at 7 games. They now have tied that after losing to the Commanders. In the previous outing, Giants faced the Patriots, who had the league's longest active winning streak at 10 games. According to NFL research, the Giants game against the Commanders will be the 5th game in NFL history between teams each entering on a 7-game losing streak that season. The last instance was Week 9 of 2021 when the Texans played at Miami against the Dolphins. In terms of the Giants' offense versus the Washington defense, Jaxson Dart averaged 2.3 offensive touchdowns per game as a starter in 2025. Only Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen had averaged more. And according to NFL research, Dart is one of 3 rookies since 1950 with at least 16 offensive touchdowns and 5 or fewer giveaways in his first 8 career starts. The other 2 were Dak Prescott in 2016 and Dan Marino in 1983. Washington's opponents had an average passer rating of 109.7, the highest in the NFL. So you had to figure, Jaxson Dart going to have himself a day. And no, he did not. Not so much, at least in the first half. The Washington's defense ranked 30th in passing yards allowed and 28th in passing touchdowns allowed, while their 6 interceptions were tied for the 5th fewest. They did hold J.J. McCarthy to just 163 passing yards in the previous week, but they did allow for him to throw for 3 touchdowns with no turnovers. Prior to Week 14, Washington had surrendered over 300 passing yards in 3 of their previous 4 games. Opponents had an average passer rating of 109.7, the highest in the NFL, which we mentioned. So I was really hoping that Jaxson Dart would come out and throw for 300-plus yards and multiple scores, and not so much. Very inaccurate day for Jaxson Dart. Probably the most inaccurate we have seen him this season, and he, didn't look that great. I mean, he had some highlight reel plays against the Pats, especially that absurd 4th down pass where he throws to Hodgins for almost a first down. But did not look good for the majority of the game against Washington, which is unfortunate. Not what you want to see when you're rounding out and ending out a really shitty season in which he came out and said, I want to finish strong. I want to carry momentum into the next season. It's important that we play well and win down the stretch. And then for him to say that and come out and play like he did, it's like, okay, are you now infected with the Giants virus of losing? Giants are the only team this season with 4 players each with 300-plus rushing yards. They're Tyrone Tracy, Cam Scattergood, Jaxson Dart, and Devin Singletary. In the 3 games prior to the matchup at Foxborough, Tracy had run for at least 62 yards in each outing. In fact, between the outings against the Packers and Lions in weeks 11 and 12, the 26-year-old had back-to-back games with 130-plus total yards of offense. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited about... I don't know that we'll have Singletary next season, but I'm excited about having Cam Scattergood and Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. And it sucks that we only had them together for such a short period of time, and Tracy was dealing with some injury issues. It's like the 2 of them at 100% plus Dart. We're already, I know the net rushing yards per attempt aren't there this season, but in terms of attempts and yards, we're a top 10 unit. I know it's crazy to say out loud, but that's the numbers don't lie, except when they do. Commanders' defense has allowed 160 or more rushing yards in 3 of their last 4 games, which has played a significant role in their unit ranking 29th in rushing yards and 26th in yards per attempt allowed. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, and Xavier Scott combined for 143 rushing yards in the previous week with an average of 5.1 yards per carry. Not to say that we really broke out and had a great day running the ball against the Commanders. We didn't. So that, again, it's like, what the fuck happened? I don't know. Did we collectively quit? Was it just 0 people in the stands? What was it where we came out and just didn't perform against a really underperforming unit? One of the worst defenses in the NFL. Over the last 4 games, Theo Johnson has registered just 2 games with 75 or more receiving yards and 2 games with 36 or fewer receiving yards. So kind of boom or bust type situation. He's also in his longest scoring drought of the season, having not found the end zone over the last 4 games. Through the first 13 games of the season, the Commanders have allowed opposing tight ends to rack up 798 receiving yards against them, or 61.4 yards per game, which ranks as the 9th most of any defense in the NFL. They've given up 9 touchdowns to the tight end position, the 2nd most of any team. Now, did Theo Johnson come and ball out against the Commanders? And the answer is not really. 4 targets, 3 catches, 72 yards. So yeah, he had a long of 42. So was able to have a big play, but ultimately wasn't able to get into the end zone. Would have liked to see maybe 1 or 2 more catches out of him in this contest. Wan'Dale Robinson led the NFL with 55 catches on 3rd down since the start of last season. Against the Commanders over the past 6 weeks, Robinson has quietly totaled the most catches and targets at the wide receiver position. He can be a needle mover in the fantasy playoffs, starting with the Washington secondary that's been exploited all year. Now, did he come out and have himself a day? He did have a really great catch, on that last touchdown after we recovered the fumble in Commanders territory. I don't know if it was a 4th down or it was a 3rd down, but Dart, wasn't able to step into the throw and make the kind of throw that could be more accurate, and he kind of had to hang it out there. Robinson got wide open and made the tough catch on a throw that wasn't there because Dart had pressure in his face. But 10 targets, 5 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. So stuff. You look at the number and you're like, it's not ideal. 5 catches on 10 targets. But then you look at Darius Slayton, 4 catches on 10 targets, 53 yards. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dart was just not accurate today, or on Sunday in week 15. Just not accurate. Least accurate he's been. Commanders have allowed just 26 points in the final 2 minutes of halves, the second fewest in the NFL behind the Browns. Giants have allowed 62 such points, 6th most in the league, and that did not change in this game against the Commanders. We allowed, 9 points in the last 65 seconds or something like that. Punt return for a touchdown, then a field goal. So, that middle 8, dude. That middle 8, we continue to suck. It's something that you thought someone would point to and say, we got to get better here. How do we get better? But we haven't. Commanders have allowed a league high 195 plays of 10 or more yards. The Giants have given up the second most, and you saw that pretty much come true in this contest. He had that long catch and run to Terry McLaurin for the touchdown. Just piss poor defense, pass defense, and tackling from our secondary. Shocker. And Commanders gave up some big chunk yardage plays as well. That the one passing touchdown to Tracy was from like 20 plus yards out. Pretty good throw by Dart on that, and then a great adjustment and catch from Tracy, who has had his struggles catching the ball. So the offense was really awful in the first half. That's something that I was not expecting to see. Second half came alive, but yet again, when you get down into the goal-to-go situation, couldn't figure it out, couldn't punch it in. And then especially towards the end of the game, when you're given yet another chance by Washington, who couldn't put it away, and came up short yet again. So Giants offense, I know they scored 21 points, but should have been more. We could have crossed 30 points. It's not outside the realm, my guy. Giants defense against the Washington offense, Brian Burns, who is currently number 1 in Pro Bowl fan balloting at outside linebacker. Hell yeah. Leads the NFC with career high 13 sacks, put him on pace for 17 sacks, accomplished only 3 times in Giants history. He had Michael Strahan, obviously in 2001, and then Michael Strahan with 18.5 sacks in 2003. People forget. And then LT with the 20.5 sack effort in 86. Over his last 11 games, so he would be going up against their Washington's tackle Connerly. I forget his first name, but over his last 11 games, Connerly had played much better than with just 2 sacks and 24 pressures allowed, according to Pro Football Focus. Connerly has not been credited with a sack surrendered since Week 8. In his 9 games, 6 starts this season, Marcus Mariota has not been sacked more than twice in any outing. Were we able to get sacks on Mariota? I think we got 2. Did we not? We got 3. No, we got 2. Dane Belton and Abdul Carter. By the way, Von Miller's on Washington. When did that happen? So Burns, able to get to the quarterback. Or no, Burns not able to get to the quarterback and add to his sack lead. He's kind of fallen off over the past few weeks. Not as dominant as he has been, and he's still making a play here or there. Still present, still visible, but not as dominant and not as impactful as he has been in the past. Abdul Carter now has 9 total pressures and 4 quarterback hits over his last 2 games as he looks to keep his strong play going in the final month of the season. This is before the Washington game. Heading into Week 15, Carter ranks 9th among all edges. Yeah, we already talked about that, brah. He would be going up against Laramie Tunsil, who surrendered a sack to the Giants in the season opener, and since then has allowed only 1 additional sack, along with 14 total pressures. Tunsil is ranked as PFS number 3 offensive tackle in pass protection this season, number 8 tackle overall. And you could see when he was in the game against the Giants in Week 15, we weren't able to get pressure. When he had to leave the game due to injury, I think it was maybe a shoulder I can't remember. We got pressure. So Laramie Tunsil, a guy that probably should have been a New York Giant. if we're all being honest, and that stupid gas mask video didn't come out pre-draft or draft night. Do the Giants draft Laramie Tunsil? Maybe. And then you have your fucking bookend. Lifelong. Marcus Mariota made his 81st regular season start with Jaden Daniels sideline. He won his only start against the Giants in 2018 when he was a member of the Titans. I believe we were shut out that game, 21-0. Derrick Henry had himself a day. That was an abysmal day. It was like, I think it was a December game, rain, cold rain, no one in the stands. Shocker. In his 3 starts, Marcus Mariota checked in as the QB3, QB9, and QB13 from a fantasy standpoint, so elite to above average in his 3 starts. Terry McLaurin, healthy again. So did Mariota have a day? Well, I mean, you look at the completions and attempts, and it doesn't jump off the page. It's the yardage that really does. You know, he ended up going 10 of 19 for 211 yards and a touchdown. He had a rating of 109.8. He also added 10 carries for 43 yards. Washington has the number 4 rushing offense in the NFL, averaging over 136 yards per game on the ground. Giants have allowed 154.2 rushing yards per game, second most in the NFL, and a league high 5.78 yards per carry. And that did not waver in this Week 15 contest. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, carried the ball 18 times for 96 yards and a touchdown. And so, yeah, I mean, we gave up 139 rushing yards. So for us, that's a win, even though it's still horrendous. Washington converted 65.7% of the red zone drives and touchdowns, the 5th best rate in the NFL. I wonder if I don't think I have the red zone stats here. Do I? I do not. But, I don't know that we did much better. Special teams. Washington averages 28.1 yards per kickoff return, second best in the league. They have allowed a league low 3.8 yards per punt return. Giants fell to number 23 in this category after giving up that touchdown to Marcus Jones, and it only got worse when they gave up the punt return touchdown to Jalen Lane. Second longest punt return in the NFL this season was the 94-yarder from Marcus Jones. And then Jalen Lane returned a punt 90 yards for a score in that same week. So, were we able to to prevent that? No. And Jamie Gillen was also missed this game due to a knee injury. And they brought up Cameron Johnston, who does like this NCAA college football style rugby kick that's so popular at the college level. That really freaks me out. And I'm like, oh, this punt's going 35 yards. It ends up going like 50 plus. So, special teams is just gross at this point. And you can fully pin the last 2 losses on them for sure. Giants' first 3 possessions resulted in missed field goal and 2 punts. Younghoe Koo, 0 for 2 in field goals today, 51-yarder, 54-yarder. And again, Kafka's asked, after Koo misses the first 50-plus yarder, why do you kick the second 50-plus yarder? He's like, I have all the confidence in the world. It's like, yeah, do you, dude? You need to recheck your confidence. maybe you shouldn't be as confident. Tyrone Tracy got us on the board with a 12-yard touchdown run on the 4th drive, stopping the 13 unanswered points to open the game. Dart completed 20 of 36 passes for 246, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The interception he did throw went to Sandstrastil. I'll never get that right. Who returned it 55 yards to set up a Jake Moody field goal as time expired in the first half. Again, that sucks. He also ran 9 times for 63 yards, including the 29-yard scramble, 3 plays after Tracy's touchdown run, or before Tracy's touchdown run. Again, on that scramble, you see the guys closing in on you. Why are you taking that hit? You think that you can break through it? You think you're fast enough to get past them without getting hit? Just go down, dude. Don't take the hit. And of course, Dart exited the game with 11:28 in the 4th quarter to go to the blue tent I'm trying to remember. Has he been in the blue medical tent every game this season? I think the answer is yes. There's been like maybe one game where he has not been in the blue tent. He's been in the blue tent every single game, and I'm sick of it. Okay. What's the record? I asked this. What is the record for blue medical tent visits in one season? I think Dart's got it, averaging one per game. It's nuts. And I want to say, but then again, I don't know. You think about a lot of the greater quarterbacks that are out there. Like I think Joe Burrow spends a lot of time in the blue tent. I don't know if Josh Allen does. I think Josh Allen's just built different. That's why I call him Superman. Jaxson Dart, not exactly Superman. So maybe let's cut down on the blue tent visits. Maybe. What do you got in there in that blue tent that you keep going back there, dude? Since being named the starter, Jaxson Dart has thrown for more than 1,800 yards and rushed for 400 yards. Since 2000, Dart is the fourth player to throw for those numbers, meaning more than 1,800 yards, and rush for more than 400 yards in his first 9 career starts, joining Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and RG3. So hopefully his career goes more the way of Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts and not so much RG3. Good God. If he fucking... I can't... Oof. Just please be safe, dude. I know. Old man shouting at the clouds, but just slide. Tyron Tracy had 97 yards from scrimmage and scored a rushing and receiving touchdown in the same game for the first time in his career. Tracy rushed 15 times for 70 yards while adding 3 catches for 27 yards. Became the first Giant to record a rushing and receiving touchdown in the same game since Saquon Barkley at Arizona in week 2 of the 2023 season, where he had 1 rushing and 1 receiving. That was the game that Barkley, ironically, got hurt and the season went to shit. Wan'Dale Robinson finished with 5 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. His touchdown reception brought his season total to 4, which is a single season career high. With 5 catches, his career total jumps up to 254, making him the 18th player in franchise history to surpass 250 career receptions. Robinson reached 250 or more receptions in 52 games, which is tied for the second fewest games with Hakeem Nicks, Victor Cruz, Odell Beckham Jr. So he's in some elite companies there, some really great company. Is he an Odell Beckham Jr.? No. Is he even a Victor Cruz? No. Is he a Hakeem Nicks? No. That's what's so weird about Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, the numbers are there to justify giving him a contract, but I just don't feel good about it. Would I be pissed if they give him a contract similar to Darius Slayton's, if not better, based on performance? Joe Shane might do it. I just don't think the new GM will do it. It's a take it or leave it for me. It's like, I'm not going to be bummed if he goes somewhere in free agency. It's like, I'm not rooting against the guy. I just don't think he's the missing piece of the puzzle. I think you're fine without him. I know. I kind of hate that I'm so down on him, but I just don't see it. I don't see what Joe Shane sees or Mike Kafka sees or Brian Dable saw. I don't see it becoming anything more than what it is. Has he proved me wrong this year? I mean, hey, he's essentially our wide receiver 1. He is, I mean, just based on numbers and performance targets, he is our wide receiver 1. But, you know, when, I don't know. That's a tough decision, and I'm glad I'm not the, I mean, if I'm the GM, I'm not, no, thank you. Like, just make sure, you know, hopefully you don't sign with the fucking Eagles or Commanders or Cowboys, and it'll come back to bite us twice a year. Giants only converted 2 third downs on 12 attempts. So our third down numbers have tanked, especially with Cam Scatterbo out of the lineup. And with us making a more concerted effort to not do design runs with Jaxson Dart, you can see how it's been hurting us on third down. You just don't have the bully ball that Cam Scatterbo provides and being physical and strong and getting that third down. And you don't have that option to go with Dart on the design run. So I think that's been a major factor. But again, I think that goes back to, like, who's your dependable third down guy? Is it Wan'Dale Robinson? I don't think so. It's not Darius Slayton. It maybe should be Theo Johnson, but again, this is like, it's too many question marks. as much as the offense has improved and gotten better with Jaxson Dart, there's still a lot to work on. Giants defense versus the Commanders offense. Outside linebacker Abdul Carter wasn't benched. Hallelujah. He got a tackle for loss on the first play. He also drew a holding penalty on Washington's opening drive. This was his best game of his rookie season, I think, by far. He strip sacked Marcus Mariota in the second drive. Commanders did recover the fumble, though, but the play forced him out of field goal range. He now has sacks in back-to-back games and 2.5 on the season. Recovered a fumble late in the fourth quarter, which sucks that he was ruled down because that was basically, outside of maybe the Cordell Flott pick 6, the most exciting Giants play on defense, and it didn't count. I mean, the fumble recovery counts. It's just what happened after that. Like the fact that Carter gets up, laterals it to Paulson Adebo, who laterals it to Javon Holland, who laterals it. Like, that was cool to watch. That was like, wow, this Giants defense cares. And now they're not just getting the turnover, which getting turnovers, has been impossible for this defense to do, but just to get the turnover, but then to turn the turnover into a positive play, field shifting play was great to see. And if it stood, it would have been the most exciting Giants defensive play of the year coming in week 15 in a game when it's, we're out of playoff contention. But that's the defense that I want to see. That's the defense we thought we were going to see the whole season, and we got to see it, with 4 games left to play. So he does get the fumble recovery in the fourth quarter, and I don't know if that was the drive that we scored the touchdown. The drive we came up short, but Carter ended the afternoon with 3 tackles for loss, having just 1 in his first 13 games. So again, hopefully this is not just a blip on the radar. This is not an outlier. This is the standard moving forward. That would be pretty fucking awesome. Carter totaled 7 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, fumble recovery, a sack, 3 tackles for loss. The 3 tackles for loss is tied for the most by a Giants rookie since 1999, when tackles for loss became an official stat. Kayvon Thibodeau was the last Giants rookie to accomplish this on December 18th, almost 3 years ago, at Washington in that infamous Monday night game, where he went off and we won, but it was like kind of an asterisk with that pass interference on the last Washington drive. Carter, I think that's also when we pretty much clinched the NFC East title, or at least a wild card. Carter also became the first Giants rookie since JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, in 2010 to record 2 forced fumbles in a single game. That game was November 28th, 2010 against the Jaguars. Before Carter's performance in Week 15 against the Commanders, the last rookie to record 2 or more forced fumbles and 3 or more tackles for loss in the same game was Tennessee Titans defensive tackle Jason Jones, who produced 3 forced fumbles and 3 tackles for loss against Pittsburgh on December 21st, 2008. The Giants had 2 players record a sack and 2 forced fumbles in this game. Carter was one, and safety Dane Belton was the other. Since 1998, only 3 other teammate duos have recorded 1 or more sacks and 2 or more forced fumbles in a game. It was the most recently achieved by Kalimba White and Dwayne White of the Detroit Lions versus the Oakland Raiders on September 9th, 2007. The White Bros. I'll leave that right there for you to take and do what you will. Safety Dane Belton had a strip sack late in the game, which Brian Burns recovered and returned 23 yards. It's just good that we're able to force fumbles and recover the fumbles. It feels like this season, whenever we have forced a fumble, we are unable to recover it, and it's maddening, dude. Dane Belton is playing himself. I think he's playing himself into another contract with the Giants, and I am all for giving him another contract. I think you should hold on to Dane Belton. He is the epitome, prime example of the depth that we should have across the board. A guy who is your primary backup, who you can insert into the starting lineup, and you don't miss too much of a beat. And he can make impact plays. It's not every game with Dane Belton, but damn, he's showing you more than fucking Tyler Nubin. And I would make the argument that he's showing you more than fucking Javon Holland. So yes, bring Dane Belton back. I'm a big Dane Belton fan. I like how he plays. He's physical. He can lay the lumber. He's getting turnovers more than you can say for Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland. So if I'm the new coach and I come in here and I say, we're having an open competition, make it a competition. We mentioned it before, but that's what Dable did when he first got here. He made things competitive. And that's what you need to do in order for you can't just hand people the job, especially on a losing team like this where the results are not there. Play for your position. Terry McLaurin broke the game open with a 51-yard touchdown catch and run. That gave Washington 29-14 lead early in the fourth. That was just like a ugly play all around. And there were two guys in the vicinity to make the play, and neither of them did. And to not be able to bring him down is just like, this is what we're talking about. Commanders scored 9 points in the final 65 seconds of the second quarter, which we mentioned on the punt return, mixed it in a field goal. Again, like if Dart doesn't throw the pick to set them up in the field goal, if our special teams actually makes the tackle, we win the game 21-20. Like, I know I'm being overly simplistic, but fuck, man. So Jalen Lane's 63-yard touchdown punt return. This is the second consecutive game the Giants allowed a punt return touchdown, following the Marcus Young return touchdown. Cameron Johnston, the punter, was also the holder for Younghoe Koo, missed a 53-yarder on the first possession and a 51-yarder on the first play of the fourth quarter. So, yeah, safe to say Younghoe Koo, not part of our future plans. We are officially, after this loss, the worst team in football, or in the NFC. My apologies, at 2-12. I believe we are battling with who are we battling with for the number one overall, the number one stunner? Who are we battling with for the number one stunner for the number one pick? So the Titans are 2-12 and the Raiders are 2-12. So that Raiders Giants game. Huge. I could just go to Tankathon, a website I try to avoid at all costs because I do not care about draft order. Yes, we do have the number one pick at 2-12 because our strength of schedule is slightly worse than the Vegas Raiders. So it's Giants 1, Raiders 2, Titans 3, Browns 4, Jets 5, Cardinals 6. Okay. Fucking Rams get the 10th pick from the Falcons. Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, will that stand? I don't know what the schedule looks like for Vegas and Tennessee. This mock draft has Fernando Mendoza, who just won the Heisman, going to the Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Raiders fired Chip Kelly, which is so funny. And the Titans are not going to want a quarterback. We have our quarterback. I don't know if the Browns will be. I mean, I guess the Browns will draft yet another quarterback. The Jets need a quarterback. For sure. And the Cardinals are in an interesting place because I think they're out on Kyler Murray. I think they're done with Kyler Murray. So they could use a quarterback. So, yeah, I guess if you're into that sort of thing, you hope that the Giants don't win another game and get the number one pick so that we can trade back for a quarterback-needy team and pick up a haul of picks. That would be ideal for the Giants, but knowing how they do in these kind of situations, they'll probably reel off 3 straight wins. So let's talk about the next game against the Vikings. This will be Sunday, December 1st. Oh, no, dude. Not at all. It was Sunday, December 21st. 1 o'clock start time, MetLife Stadium. Vikings are favored by 1.5. Hilarious. Over-under is 43. Last matchup was that 2024 season opener when we were wearing those god-awful uniforms that will never see the light of day again, hopefully. 28-6, that's when DJ was getting harassed on his way out of the stadium after a really lackluster performance. Threw a pick 6. It was just all around bad. If you're bored with the current state of affairs with the Giants, go back to my episode when I recapped and reacted to that season opener. Oh my God. That's when I officially knew it was over for your boy Daniel Jones and for Brian Dable, and should have been for Joe Shane. And yet It took us 10 plus weeks to move on from Daniel Jones and almost another full season to move on from Brian Dable. And we're still clinging to Joe Shane. Oh, amazing. Before that, we faced them in the wild card. That's when we won 31-24 in the wild card. And we thought everything was on the up and up. It was like, we got our franchise quarterback, him and Barkley, dynamic duo. No. And then before that was Christmas Eve of that same season, 2022, when, who was it? Greg Joseph blasted that 60-plus yarder field goal to win it. And we lost 27-24, but that was, for us, I think, a good confidence booster going up against a team that, people forget the 2022 Vikings were one of the best in football. I think they finished 13-4 that season, so pretty good. And then before that, it was October 6, 2019. We lost 28-10. I don't remember that game at all. I legit don't remember that game. Couldn't tell you a damn thing about it. And then October 3rd, 2016 was the game for that. We lost 24-10. That was an ugly stretch for that 2016 team where I was like, no. But then we bounced back and played well the rest of the season. At least the defense did. The Vikings lead the all-time series 19-13. And they actually have a better record on the road than they do at home. I believe they're either 5-4. No, they're 4-4 away. We are 2-4 at home, so at least we have a fighter's chance. We are winless on the road. And then they're 25th in points scored per game, but only 13th in points allowed per game. They're negative 13 in the takeaway differential column, 31st in the league. So defense getting more turnovers against Washington. Can they carry that over to this game against the Vikings and get more turnovers? That'd be pretty sweet. Vikings are 28th in passing yards per game and 24th in rushing yards per game. So even though the offense is putting up more points, 31 against the Commanders, and then they put up another 30 some odd against Dallas, you could probably expect them to put up another 30 spot against this Giants defense. Unless Abdul Carter, keeps the flame alive, keeps the momentum going. Defensively, they are 5th in passing yards per game, but 24th in rushing yards per game. So I'd imagine you're going to see a lot of run-heavy personnel and schemes from the Giants where you're mixing in Tracy and Singletary, alternating them. I would hope that they continue to shy away from designed runs for Dart. It's just unnecessary. You don't need to put him in harm's way. And, maybe it is just run the ball. But I would hope that they would, I don't know, you would hope that would open up the play action. Giants are now 28th in takeaway differential. So as much as I want them to get takeovers or turnovers, takeaways, I just, we'll see. I mean, maybe they can bait. No, they can't. I was going to say maybe they can bait J.J. McCarthy into throwing some picks. J.J. McCarthy's still not looking overall that great, although he did have a really nice throw to, was it Jalen Naylor for the touchdown against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, where he's moving to his left, and he just, really nice throw. But still can't find Justin Jefferson, which sucks for my fantasy squad. And the Giants are, 15th in passing yards a game, 11th in rushing yards per game. So I'd imagine we should see some success on the ground there. And then hopefully we can just, Dart comes back and he wakes up from this 2-game kind of slump. It's not necessarily a slump. He's better than a lot of quarterbacks out there, but we're not used to seeing this kind of play from Dart, where it's not where he was, weirdly enough. Defense is allowing 228 passing yards per game, which is 23rd in the NFL. And then, like we said about the defensive rushing yards allowed per game, we're 31st, dude. So not getting a hell of a lot better against the run. Do I see us coming away with a win in this game? No, I do not. Unless maybe if JJ gets hurt, then you have a shot, I guess, because like their backups are real bad. I think Carson Wentz might be done for the season. And that Brosmer dude was pretty awful against the Seahawks, but the Seahawks have a really great defense. So I do not. I could see this possibly being a one-score game. But we've been pretty bad against the Vikings in the regular season, so I could easily see this being a blowout as well. And then we got the Raiders. I believe that's going to be a 4:00 game. Is it on Sunday? Maybe. I have to look that up. And then finish out the season with the Cowboys. In terms of their defense, how bad is our defense exactly? I looked into this a little bit. In terms of points allowed, and I believe this is through the 14 games that the Giants have played this season. We've allowed 396 points through 14 games, right? So you figure how many points? I just looked it up. Didn't I just look it up, dude? Oh my god. 396 divided by 14. 28 points per game. They got 3 games left. So if they give up 28 points per game over the next remaining 3 games, that's 84 more points. We'll add that to 396. 481 points we're looking at for the Giants over the course of the 2025 season, which sadly would not be the most points allowed in a season. It would be second most. So we are looking at giving up more points than what we did in the 2019 season, which was Pat Shurmur's last season. And then the gold standard, the bar by which this defense needs to eclipse to be the worst defense in Giants history is the 1966 Giants, whose defense allowed 501 points in going 1-12-1 and finishing 8th out of 8 teams in the division. When Ali Sherman was the coach, and I think Homer Jones was the top receiver and all-around best player there. But my God, that 66 team stunk. Probably the worst team in Giants history, I would think. Only scored 263 points, but gave up 501 points in only 14 games. My God, dude. I don't think anyone can surpass the 66 Giants defense. A negative 238 point differential. Whew. And then next up would be that 2019 Giants defense under Pat Shurmur with 451 points allowed. Negative 110 point differential, barf. And then the 2015 Giants defense, which allowed 442 points allowed, negative 22 point differential. And that's only because the Giants offense was amazing that year. I mean, that 2015 Giants offense put up 420 points total, which is 4th most in franchise history. 12 New York Giants put up 429 points, missed the playoffs. Oh, that 2012 season. It still burns, still hurts. 2008 Giants offense put up 427 points. We won't talk about how that season ended. And then 2005 Giants scored 422 points for the 4th most in franchise history. And we won't talk about how that season ended. So, yeah, if we're going by like Pro Football Reference's simple rating system, this 2025 season is actually, they're like in the teens in terms of like the worst in franchise history. And a lot of that has to do with just the offense playing well or playing better. You know, if you look at, since I've been alive, since 1980, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. So this is the 8th worst team I've seen since I've been alive. And I don't know if you want to count 1980 because I was just a baby and I missed 3 months of the season or 2 months of the season. So 7th worst team I've seen in my lifetime. The 2021 Giants, I don't think anyone's going to top that in terms of the worst teams on paper and on television. The 2024 Giants, the 2023 Giants, the 2019 Giants, the 2017 Giants, and 2025 Giants. So this The worst teams that I have seen have all come from my age 36, 37 year onward. The first 35 years of my life, it was like Giants football was something I could look forward to and be hopeful about. And then since then, and maybe it's because I married a Eagles fan. That's probably it. I cursed the franchise. That's on me, you guys. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I should never have married an Eagles fan. Spoiler alert, we got divorced. But we do have a beautiful daughter who has to be struggling with which team she's going to pick and root for because she sees how much daddy loves the Giants. But goddamn, mommy's Eagles continue to win and then bitch about it. All right, that's enough of that. I actually should be able to get you a Vikings recap. I should be able to do that because I should be home from South Carolina, going down to South Carolina for the holidays, Christ Mass Christ. So I should be back in time to actually watch that game and not just listen to it on the radio. And then I should have a nice little recap afterwards. If it's, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard for me not to do a recap, but it wasn't too hard to not do a recap after that Pats game. Woof. I was in dire straits after that game. I was like, I don't think I want to do anything anymore. Like anything. Like get up, brush my teeth, wear clothes, any of that. I was just out on life after that Pats loss. Because it was just like, this is just getting worse. And it was already pretty bad. But yeah, I got a job. So that's why things are looking up. And I don't have to worry so much about the fucking Giants. Because that was like the only thing that I was keyed in on was the Giants. And now that I got a new job, don't want to jinx it, but I got a new job. So that's good. I'll have more details about that in some other episode. But in terms of what's coming up next one will be a reaction to the Mets offseason. You thought the Giants were bad. You thought at least the Giants have a little bit of hope going in 2026 with the offense. The Metros, dude, it is all come undone. The core is no more, and we're entering a brand new weird era of Mets baseball that I don't even know what to think about it. I'm not particularly psyched about it. So I'll get more into that in the next step. But for now, adios, muchachos.